Having seen Jones' violent streak, his old neighbors on 4th Street aren't shocked.
I was surprised at first, and then I turned around and thought about it, and I was like, well, if he tried to kill one person, who's to say he wasn't going to do it again? But I didn't think it would be his own dog.
They can't change their stripes. People can't change unless they want to, and I don't think he wants to.
Kei'Mani Latigue was days away from turning 14 when her body was discovered in an abandoned home in Toledo, Ohio on March the 24th, 2025. Now, Kei'Mani didn't have the easiest start in life. She was taken from her mother at birth and placed into the system. Now, according to various interviews from Kei'Mani's biological mom, at about 9 months old, Kei'Mani went to live with her mother's godmother, who cared for her during her early years. Later on, according to her mother, the godmother suffered a mental health episode and ended up dropping Kei'Mani off at her biological grandmother's house without even knocking. From that point on, Kei'Mani remained with her grandmother, Dorothy Latigue, who had been her guardian for the last 5.5 years. About a year before Kei'Mani's death, Dorothy was granted full legal custody. Tragically, after that year, Kei'Mani's life would be cut short. Now, according to her grandmother and legal guardian, Dorothy Latigue claims she left to work the overnight shift on March 16, 2025. Now, on the morning of March the 17th, she came home, and this is what she says happened.
And when I came home, she wasn't here. Of course, she was supposed to have been on her way to school, but according to the way that the house was set up, once I got here, because it was in complete disarray, she wasn't here. So I called the school so that I can talk to her, and they said that she wasn't there.
She says Kei'Mani's keys were at the house along with her glasses. Her grandmother says the 13-year-old can't see without them. She also told me the stove was on and you could smell gas.
Other than her and I, it's just the 2 dogs in the house, so who cut it on? So that was kind of suspicious. Then her glasses and her underclothes were by the couch in the front room. Her pajamas were in the dining room and the floor.
Her family handed out flyers telling people if they see her to call police. The teen's grandmother says she's not the type of kid to run off.
She always calls me and asks me prior to going somewhere, can she go? She's a latchkey kid, so she has her own keys for the home. She has a phone just in case anything happens. She can contact somebody. She's very responsible.
Kei'Mani's father says he saw his daughter late Sunday night after she called him afraid to be home alone.
I came over here because she said that if it seemed like somebody was trying to break into the house. So I sat for an hour, me and my cousin, we sat over here, and we left around like 12:30-ish.
The girl went missing from Elm and Bronson. Toledo police are investigating.
They came inside, they looked around, the officer requested to see her room, how it was set up and all of that, and she went through.
There has been so many questions about Kei'Mani's heartbreaking case, such as when Darnell Jones, the man believed to be her alleged father, went over to Dorothy Latigue's home, did he really take his cousin Caleb? As you heard from Darnell stated that when he went over to Dorothy Latigue's house because Kei'Mani called him, his cousin Caleb went over there with him. Now, questions have come up whether or not Darnell Jones was being honest, if Caleb Jones truly went over there, and if more suspects should be charged in Kei'Mani Latigue's passing. Now we are getting more answers, so listen to this.
We obtained 11 different warrants this morning, and they show that detectives immediately zeroed in on not only Darnell Jones, but also his cousin, Caleb Jones Dixon. So the men told police they went to Kei'Mani's house after she called to say she was scared. Police said they were seen on a surveillance video at the house. And Darnell Jones said they stayed until 12:30 in the morning. Then he was dropped off at home by Jones Dixon, but police were suspicious of these stories. And during searches last month, a plastic car mat, boots, clothing, phones, a gun, a knife, hatchet, a security system, and other items were taken from the men's homes. In addition, a red spot was swabbed for DNA in Jones-Dixon's home, and his roadie account was seized to check GPS data. Now, phone records were also obtained for the phone of Linda Ogletree, the mother of Darnell, and records indicate police believe she talked to him in a recorded call in the days after the disappearance. However, she told police she had not talked to him and knew nothing about the case. Now, at this point, Darnell Jones is the only person charged in this case, but these filings indicate police are also looking at other possibilities.
Okay, so you just heard the news overview, and if you've been following this case on my channel, then you know that that is very significant because Caleb Jones, the man believed to be Darnell Jones' cousin, essentially establishes the alibi for Darnell Jones to say Darnell Jones went over to Dorothy Latigue's house after Kei'Mani called him to let him know that she was scared to be in the house. According to Darnell, he goes over to the house with his cousin Caleb. They stay for a couple of hours, and Caleb says that they left the residence. Now, what's interesting here is that initially, there were questions that had come up about if Caleb Jones was truly over there. So we just learned from the warrant affidavits that the news was able to obtain. Yes, Caleb Jones was over there, but not only do they have Caleb Jones' statement and Darnell Jones, but they also have surveillance footage which places them over there. Now, the interesting part about this is that the search warrants went on to describe that the initial conversation with Mr. Jones-Dixon, in which police says he gave inconsistent statements regarding his time with Darnell Jones and Kei'Mani. So in addition to this, he was unable to provide detectives with an accurate timeline for his whereabouts. Police also argued that the requested phone records, including cell phone tower and GPS data, along with the data from the roadie system, would provide a complete record of his locations and travels. The police did notify the court that they received the requested records. So this is essentially stating that when the police, as you heard, when they talked with Caleb, which is alleged to be Darnell Jones's cousin, to get the timeline of events, he provided inconsistent statements. They could not verify what he was telling the police by his statements because they said it's inconsistent. We need something more that will prove this timeline, that will demonstrate to us that, because you're giving us inconsistent information. So do you have something else, GPS from your phone? They decided to do this roadie thing and to track his whereabouts. Now, according to Caleb, he said he is not in jail and we know that to be a fact, that he's not currently charged. The only person that is currently charged is Darnell. So Caleb said, I've provided the police everything that they wanted. But what the police had not previously told us is that Caleb, the cousin, was providing inconsistent statements and that they had to get phone records. They had to get the roadie system in order to actually track Caleb's whereabouts because he provided inaccurate information as far as his whereabouts, and they couldn't verify it with him. So please drop your comments below and let me know what are your thoughts about this. Now, we also know that Dorothy Latigue, in the interview that you just heard, that Dorothy Latigue initially told the news reporters that it was only her, Kei'Mani, and their dog that was living in the house. However, in the search warrants that were obtained, they indicate that Miss Lisa White lived there. Miss Lisa White's role was categorized as being the caretaker. Miss White indicated that when Dorothy Latigue was at work, her role, her responsibility was to care for Kei'Mani Latigue. If you followed this case from my channel, then you know that the godmother's daughter, her daughter previously provided a statement on social media where she said that Kei'Mani did not function as a normal teenager, that Kei'Mani functioned below her age. So she was kind of perplexed at why Kei'Mani would be left in the house alone. If you haven't checked that out, be sure to do so. It is on a previous video that I covered from this case. Now, getting back to Mrs. White, the significance here is really just, this really goes to Dorothy Latigue's credibility in the public's eye, because a lot of people have spoken out and said, why would Dorothy Latigue say that it was just her and Kei'Mani that was staying there if Miss Lisa White was also staying at the house? And by all accounts, if Miss Lisa White was staying in the house and if she was looking after Kei'Mani Latigue while Dorothy Latigue was at work, this may have lessened some of the public scrutiny, some of the comments that was going on, some of the judgment, right, against Dorothy Latigue, in the sense that they were saying, why would you leave Kei'Mani alone in the house? So if Dorothy may have came out and said, well, no, she wasn't left at home all the time, typically Lisa White, the caretaker, would be there. But Dorothy may not have felt compelled to come out to the public and clear anything up. And when she went to the police, that's where she may have told them. But nevertheless, when Dorothy interviewed with the news reporter, she did say that Lisa White, she did not say that Lisa White lived there. These arrest warrants indicate that Lisa White was the caretaker, that she lived there. Lisa White told the news outlet, she said, they said another person for whom police sought cell phone records was Lisa White, who lives with Miss Latigue and would typically be at the house caring for Kei'Mani when Miss Latigue was at work. Miss Latigue was at work the night Kei'Mani disappeared. So that's important, right? Because a lot of questions have come up whether or not Dorothy Latigue, which is Kei'Mani's grandmother, was truly at work. Now, according to these these warrant affidavits, they do indicate that Dorothy Latigue was at work the night Kei'Mani disappeared. So Miss White goes on to state, I was aware of the search warrant. Miss White said Thursday. Police, that she indicates that the police had requested how her night went. She told the police that she was there the night. She was not there, the night that Kei'Mani went missing. I was out with a friend. So according to Mrs. White, the police questioned her, and one of the questions that the police posed to her was, how did the night go? And Miss White responded to them, and she said, I was not there the night Kei'Mani went missing. I was out with a friend. The police came and got Miss White. They interviewed her the day she came up missing, the day after, and the next day. They requested for Miss White to provide them with her phone. Miss White said she readily turned it over. She had nothing to hide. Miss White has also been under public scrutiny. She also indicated that she stayed away from a number of the initial searches because of the hostility that she experienced. The day we went looking for her, which is Kei'Mani, all of her family was trying to fight me, chasing me down the street. That's what Miss White said. The day of Kei'Mani's disappearance, Miss White told police she knew Jones only casually. As with all other search warrants for cell phone data, police said the data requested would help determine the locations and travel as the phone, as well as the phone number. So this is what the police have indicated regarding Mrs. White. Now, again, it's important to keep in mind that no one else has been charged in connection with Kei'Mani's case other than Darnell Jones. Okay, this is just the police, again, the news station, was able to obtain the warrant affidavits, and based on the warrant affidavits, this is them speculating that additional arrests is going to be forthcoming. When they reached out to the police declined to provide an update. As we previously know, the police said that they didn't want to compromise the integrity of the investigation. So moving forward, I do want to cover this because I feel that this is very significant. And if you've been following the case on my channel, you know that I previously played the 911 recording. That's what the news is categorizing it as. However, when the operator picked up, she did indicate that it was the non-emergency, phone line. So it appears that Dorothy Latigue, when she called to report Kei'Mani Latigue to be missing on March the 18th, that she called the non-emergency number and not 911 directly. Now, I do want to point this out here because I thought that this was interesting. It appears that before Dorothy Latigue reported Kei'Mani missing, Dorothy Latigue called Darnell Jones to let him know that his daughter Kei'Mani was missing. She told him about the clothes being found in the dining room, and it also states that she later told police that the underwear was gone when she later returned to look for them, and she believed Jones may have taken them. So before Dorothy Latigue called to report Kei'Mani missing, Dorothy Latigue called Darnell Jones. Darnell Jones comes over to the house. Dorothy Latigue must have told him this story about what occurred. She let him know, hey, Kei'Mani's underwear is in there. And then the underwear did have something, on the underwear. And when Darnell Jones left, the underwear left, which is why when they got the search warrants for Darnell Jones' residence, that was one of the things that they wanted to locate, but they were unable to locate them. So, did you know that prior to Dorothy Latigue calling the police that to report Kei'Mani missing, that she called Darnell Jones first? He came over to the house. Drop your comments below and let me know if that was something that was known to you. It wasn't known to me until I read this, so it was interesting to hear that. As we know, I know this comment comes up about whether or not Darnell Jones is indeed Kei'Mani's father. Now, I'm going to play this clip here from Darnell Jones' wife, and her and Darnell were married, and the question was posed to her about if she had known that Kei'Mani was Darnell Jones's daughter. There's a lot of speculation going on stating that Kei'Mani is not his daughter. Some believe that she is, but I'm going to play this, and immediately after that, I'm going to play the news clip about Darnell Jones's background.
I'm curious to know, and it is kind of personal, and we have like 30 people, so we don't have that many people in here. If you don't want to answer it, please don't. I just want your opinion on is if you think Kei'Mani is Darnell's biological daughter.
I don't think she is, because when I first got with him, he told me out of his own mouth that Tierra was a few months pregnant already when he first got with her.
Oh, wow. I kind of already did the math because she was working at Bugsy's and somewhere else. Yeah, so I was like, I don't think it's mathematically possible, but I need someone that's like, that is in the family that knows.
Yeah.
Wow. And how are you coping with all this? Like, are you in shock still? I mean,
I'm definitely in shock because I knew the reason why I left him, because when he gets drunk, he becomes a bitter man, real bitter. He's really violent. I know y'all seen that on the thing when they said he tried to kill me, hang me over the balcony. He did. He even shot at me in Cleveland. That's what made me fully leave him, because he shot at me in Cleveland, and I came back here. He used to punch on me. He used to sit on my chest, telling me, "Look at you now. I'm watching you guys for air."
wow.
He used to abuse me real bad. We got evicted. I got evicted out of one of my places before because his stepmom got tired of watching him treat me so bad, and she was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I gotta go because I can't." She's like, "I can't keep seeing him treat you like this."
Yeah, that's horrific. Well, I'm glad you made it out safely. Are his wife then okay? And you just haven't gotten around to divorcing him because you probably didn't want to go through the trauma of dealing with him.
No, I tried. I tried to divorce him like 2-3 years ago when he got with my cousin Nina. He got with her when he came back down here because I didn't want to get back with him because I was in a whole nother relationship with somebody else, and he came back down thinking he was going to get back with me, and it wasn't happening. And I guess he ended up getting with her or whatever. And she told me that.
I'm sorry, the Nina that turned him in?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, she's not my real cousin, but she's my cousin by marriage.
Okay. Antonia, you and Tiara, y'all have the same father, different mother, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure.
That wench would never be my mother.
Oh, I was going to say, how do you feel about Dorothy? That was my question coming out of my mouth when you said that. Oh my gosh.
But he was violent in the decades, years, and months leading up to his daughter Kei'Mani's death, and for the vast majority of that time avoided the bars that he's now behind. 11 investigates. Melissa Andrews has more on Jones's road to alleged murder.
He had her on this side, where that's facing us. He had her on that side right there, hanging off the balcony by her throat.
Angela Silva saw Darnell Jones unleash mayhem just a few doors down from her 4th Street home on July 29, 2019.
And all of a sudden we started hearing things going over the balcony, like TVs and clothes, you name it. He was tossing it out the door and out the window onto the ground.
Jones choked his wife and held her over this balcony while Silva and other neighbors called 911.
He was this close to throwing her off that balcony.
Harold Glander confronted Jones.
And I yelled down there to pull her back over, and he almost dropped her. So I got myself down there and I looked at him. I said, man, if you don't pull her back, I'm coming up. He goes, come on. So I didn't take no steps, and I was watching the girl. He almost let go of her.
Jones was found with a knife and pleaded no contest to domestic violence while other charges were dropped. He was sentenced to 60 days in CCNO but served no time, instead completing a substance abuse program. It's just one of many incidents in a pattern of havoc he unleashed starting at age 19, allowed by the light hand of the law. In 2011, he was cited for being intoxicated while screaming outside of his apartment, then resisting arrest. Just 3 months later, Jones and another man used a lighter and flammable liquid to set fire to this Toledo warehouse. He was charged with arson, pleading guilty to a lesser charge of attempted arson, and was sentenced to 4 years of probation. He had to complete treatment, get a job, and a GED. As a felon, he was never again allowed to have a gun. His next felony came in 2015 when he shot a gun at 807 Walnut. He pleaded no contest and was again given probation. He violated that probation in January of 2016 when he punched and broke a window at his work release program. The violence grew in 2017 when he smashed an alternator into a man's face at 18th and Monroe. The man required 20 stitches. Jones was charged with felonious assault and pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. He was notified on August 17th that he violated his probation. He was sentenced to CCNO for 6 months, but again served no time and was again given 2 years probation. In June of 2018, he was charged with disorderly conduct for being intoxicated while cursing and yelling outside his home on Star Avenue. 4 months after that, police got a call that a man was drunk and trying to break into a house at the same address. Police said Jones had glossy eyes, was slurring, and had a knife. He was charged with disorderly conduct again and a concealed weapon. He was put back on probation and sent back to treatment. Jones was cited in May of 2019 for disorderly conduct. An affidavit states he was drunk on his 4th Street porch with a machete. He was also cited for threatening to shoot in the head the officer who arrested him. Then came the choking of his wife on the balcony in July of 2019. The problems continued in August of 2022 when he was indicted by a grand jury for an incident at a daycare. He was found drunk with a crack pipe in the parking lot shooting a gun. He served several months in CCNO. That was 3 years before the murder of his daughter Kei'Mani Latigue and his arrest in Columbus.
What's your name? Kill me. Dude, show me your hands right now. Me, pull your hand out of your... I swear to God, pull your...
Shots fired. Shots fired. Dennis in a second. Get back, go.
Don't move. Don't move.
Having seen Jones' violent streak, his old neighbors on 4th Street aren't shocked.
I know there's a lot of information that was covered in this video. You just heard from Darnell Jones. They're currently married. So she's Darnell Jones' current wife, but although they're currently married, they are separated. And as we all know, if you're following the case on my channel, he was in a relationship with Nina. Nina and him do have a daughter together. Now, Nina states that she played a significant part, and the news have said that as well, in turning over key evidence and alerting authorities that Darnell Jones had went to Columbus, Ohio, because he fled from Toledo and he went to Columbus, Ohio, where it was reported that he tried to fire at police officers. Now, the police ended up returning fire. They injured Darnell. A lot of people are speculating that he is paralyzed. That has not been confirmed, but he is currently still in a wheelchair, and you will hear this from the most recent court appearance that he made, because he made some complaints about the pain that he is in. So what are your thoughts about his current wife, although they're not together? Her comments that Kei'Mani, she states that when he got with Tiara, who is Kei'Mani's biological mother, that Tiara was already a couple of months pregnant. That's according to the wife. Now, there has been speculation that Darnell Jones may or may not be the biological father of Kei'Mani. I will tell you that in court, a DNA test has not come up. So if they're planning to do this, that has not yet been discussed. In addition to this, it was also talked about in this pretrial that the trial date for Darnell Jones is projected to be April of 2026. There's a lot of evidence and things that potential motions, witnesses, experts, things that has to occur prior to that date being set. There's about 200 videos, and they're going to talk about all of this. Darnell Jones is going to complain about some pain that he's experiencing, the needs for glasses. So I'm going to include this here for you guys to listen to this, and drop your comments below. Let me know, what are your thoughts? Are you still following this case? Where are you at with this? Are there more arrests that need to be made? Please let me know your comments below. As always, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate everyone's support.
Preliminary case management order with an agenda for today's pre-trial hearing. And first of all, let's not have a chance to look at that.
Yes, Your Honor.
We have.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to go through my agenda items, and of course we'll have some other things to talk about as well. So I do see, Mr. Lucas, where you filed this morning a request for expert assistance and for ex parte hearing under Rule 42E, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Perhaps when we finish these items during open court, unless there's objection from the state, we can go to chambers on the record and discuss whatever it is you want to discuss with the hearing.
We're prepared to do that. Yeah, that would be great.
I believe you had also already filed one motion in your seal.
We did.
For an expert.
Correct.
Without divulging
Again,
the nature of that expert's expertise and the kind of work the expert will be doing. I did also file an order regarding expert witnesses, regarding billing, keeping the court updated on what they're doing, how much they're costing, making sure that they're available for an eventual trial date, etc.
thank you. The experts that we are going to be requesting funding for have all been given a copy of the court's expert witness order, have indicated to me that they are fine with the compliance that the court requests, and that they are available for the scheduled trial. So per the court's order, we made those inquiries before we came to ask for funding.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. The city has yet to identify any experts, as I'm understanding things.
Correct.
Mr. Jones was here last time. Mr. Jones, good morning to you. I asked about some mental health concerns. Perhaps that's a matter like to discuss in chambers. Well, part of the matter that we like to discuss in chambers later, but as I recall, Mr. Jones noted some of his claimed mental health issues. Will the defense be investigating those for possible resolution by the court?
Oh, absolutely. We've started, actually. So, you know, without revealing a whole lot here in open court, you know, records have been requested, are being requested. The appropriate exploration is underway, I'm sure.
Right. Oftentimes there's a request when evaluations are requested by an attorney for copies of prior case dockets involving other offenses, precepts investigations from alleged other offenses, etc. And those are usually collected by the court for submission to whoever needs to look at it.
Yeah, some of that material has actually already been disclosed in the state's initial discovery disclosure. I don't know that that's all of it, but it's certainly a good start. So if we need court assistance in collecting some of those items, we would approach the court for that. But we do have a bit of a start on that issue as well.
I'll ask the defense counsel in your meetings with your client. Obviously, Mr. Jones is present today in a wheelchair again, which tends to indicate to the court some physical handicap or injury. You advise the court in terms of what kind of treatment, the sufficiency of whatever treatment he needs for both his medical needs, his physical needs, psychiatric, psychological needs, etc.
Yes. So again, without airing out a lot of protected information, there have been a couple of issues that have been raised. The jail has been very accommodating. I spent about 45 minutes with the administrator yesterday sharing some of the issues. Not only was the jail administrator present, but the head of the mental health medical wing was also present. And I think there's already been some improvement, I should say. And I think with some cooperation and effective communication, I think the remaining issues that have been raised can be addressed without court intervention.
Mr. Jones, how are you feeling today?
Nerves hurt.
I'm sorry?
The nerves in my leg hurt.
Your leg hurts?
His nerves in his leg.
His nerves in your leg hurt. And I understand you're receiving some kind of medical treatment for the leg. I know you're nervous, but I can understand that certainly in the nature of this case. But otherwise, are you able to understand what's being talked about today?
Yes.
I asked you before if you had any hearing problems or any vision problems, and I think you told me that sometimes you use reading glasses, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. There's going to be a lot of documents that your attorneys are going to have for you to look at. Are you able to read them when you're over there at the jail?
Most of the time I've had them read them to me.
Okay. If there's any need, Mr. Lucas or Ms. Ronas, for reading glasses or anything else to assist Mr. Jones and aiding you as counsel, I'm happy to intervene if I need to, but it sounds like you've made such great progress with our friends at the Lucas County Jail that probably
I think it'll be okay. If he wants some glasses, I think we can get him some glasses without any problem.
Can we take a look at the council, the preliminary scheduling order? That's, for the record, was filed on May 14th, normalized the same day, I believe. And on that preliminary scheduling order, again, which is the suggested dates, nothing hard and fast, but since I pulled those dates out for purposes of scheduling, I'd like to get your thoughts. Maybe I'll start with that, look back over with you, the feasibility of adhering to a schedule like this.
Judge, we did have a meeting with the attorneys yesterday to somewhat discuss the court's preliminary scheduling. The first course date that the state needed to address with the court is the next pretrial date set for June 27th. Ms. Cook and I are both scheduled together in another murder trial in front of Judge Marks that will be proceeding that day. So unfortunately, I know the court wants to keep these on track with monthly pretrials. However, the next available Friday for the state after June 27th would be July 18th. I'm only mentioning that date now before the court because it would mean there wouldn't be a pretrial in June. And I know in discussing time waivers, which was another issue with the court, I mentioned that date to Mr. Lucas. So that was just the first date the state wanted to put before the court. The other dates, the state will work diligently to adhere to those. Of course, we're respectful of Mr. Lucas and Mrs. Baronis' schedule relative to all these dates as well.
So as the state indicated, we did, per the court's suggestion, get together and talk about these dates. I guess the defense position is this: the way that the various events are laid out chronologically is fine with us. The dates seem a little bit problematic for two reasons. Number one, while we certainly appreciate the vote of confidence by the court, our ability to write the constitutional motion by June 4th is slender at best. It's a long motion. There have been some changes in the case law. Quite candidly, neither Ms. Baronis nor I have written one in a couple of years, and it's going to take a little bit more time than that. What I think, I don't want to speak out of turn, and the state can correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of segues into the next agenda item, which is the discovery. The state has been very responsive. We have a lot of discovery. And when we were meeting with the state yesterday afternoon, on the desk was more discovery. And then it was represented to me that there was another batch behind that one. And so what we had sort of concluded is that, to set dates that the court really wants the parties to adhere to would be a bit unrealistic until we've worked through some of this discovery. As of today, I approximated 250 gigabytes in the disclosure that included 1,500 pages of documents. Nobody's sitting on their hands here, but it's a lot of material. So as far as the way the court has things structured for disclosure, I don't know about the state, but we don't have an issue with that as far as who discloses what when. The dates might be problematic just because of what we anticipate to be the amount of discovery. And that after we get through the discovery, or at least a good chunk of it, then we would probably be in a position to commit to some dates. That's kind of the defense take on the schedule.
So I'll ask the state that regarding discovery, do you anticipate yet more production for the defense? Do you pretty much have it all now for Mr. Lucas and Ms. Baronis to go over with Mr. Jones? Where are you with it?
I would say we have sent out about half of what we're currently in receipt of and are in the process of reviewing it, uploading it, redacting it, and putting it out in discovery. Mr. Lucas was correct. I think we're at about 1,500 pages that have gone out, over 200 videos, which are very, very cumbersome to watch and to go through. I believe as far as our evidentiary experts, we have at least one, if not two, of those reports ready to go out into discovery, and we are in the process of working on a additional expert report relative to cell phone evidence that we just received the official records for and are beginning that process as well.
Do you have any sort of a timeline whereby you think you'll be in a position to turn over to the defense essentially everything that you're obligated to turn over to them?
We are working diligently toward that August 29th date that the court has set. So as the court is aware, as cases continue throughout the court process, we have small disclosures that are sent out, but I'm confident that certainly, if not before that date, we will have the bulk of discovery into Mr. Lucas and Ms. Baronis' hands.
I know you haven't gotten all the discovery yet. Perhaps the state might know, and the defense might know, anticipated length of at least the trial phase.
Okay,
And
so
to that, the length of it, anticipated what?
we did discuss that yesterday. In past cases, I can at least address the length of voir dire. I believe, well, I know the defense will be submitting a questionnaire. That does tend to streamline things a bit. The defense will certainly be asking for individual sequestered voir dire also. So in the past, what it has taken to seat a jury in this type of case is generally a week. Sometimes it spills over to a couple of days into the next week. So between 5 to 7 working days for voir dire. I admit that I'm in a poor position to predict the length of at least of the trial phase of the trial. We just don't have enough discovery yet. It appears to me that it's going to take a minute, but that's about the best I can do right now.
I would concur with that assessment.
Mr. Lucas, we were here last time. You asked for the opportunity to revisit the issue of bail. You wish to do that today?
No, we're going to continue to waive our any right to present anything today, with the understanding, again, and I talked to the state about this yesterday, that if we do have terms and conditions to present to the court, we would give the court some advance notice and the state some advance notice, and we would put that in writing. We're not in a position to do that today.
Mr. Jones, we can talk to you for a minute. First of all, how you doing? Remember that when you were here last time, you and I went over a lot of your constitutional rights. Okay. You have the right to counsel, you have 2 attorneys, you may even have more, depending on Mr. Lucas and Ms. Bronis needs some more help, okay? You're presumed to be not guilty of the charges and specifications, right? Understand that? You have a right to a trial by jury, you have a right to a trial, if you don't like that, to a 3-judge panel. You understand that? Yes. Okay. Remember those other rights we talked about before? I'm not going to go through them all again and just talk to you about the nature of how the trial's in 2 phases. We talked about that at length. You've now had some time to think about what I told you about and what you told me that you understood, and you've had time to meet with your attorneys between then and now. Do you have any questions for me about any of your rights, any of the procedure on how this trial is going to go forward?
No, sir.
Okay. If at any time you do, please let your attorneys know. In addition to being the defendant in the case, you're also, we want you to participate, be able to participate in helping them present a defense to this case. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if anything gets in the way of that, I want to know. All right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Latigue Wilson, anything else for state purposes in the state?
No.
Mr. Lucas, anything else for the defense?
For the open court proceeding, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does the state have any objection to the in-chambers ex parte hearing on motions that have been filed under seal by the defense?
We have no objection.
All right. Pursuant to Criminal Rule 42E, I'll ask that our court reporter and the defense counsel and the defendant come in the chamber, and we will have that discussion on the record, but the record will be sealed of our discussion in chambers. We will then come back out to the courtroom and place on the record maybe a generality of what has been talked about there, and then we'll be finished for the day. Okay?
Thanks, Joe.
All rise.
Joe, will take me to files. Chief.